Split fiction might look and feel very similar to It Takes Two, particularly in the way its dual protagonists, Zoe and Mio, can leap, bound and grapple with playful exuberance through its bevy of winding and fast-paced action sequences, but it doesn't take long to realise that this is an altogether different beast that's easily Hazelight Studios' most ambitious and inventive co-op adventure yet.
And we have takeoff.
It's chock full of so many great and brilliantly realised ideas that you keep waiting for the moment it will run out of steam, only it never does across the whole of its 10-hour runtime. It's a staggering feat of imagination which, for a game about an evil publishing company using an ominous machine to siphon ideas straight out of writers' brains to regurgitate them into easily marketable virtual reality slop, is a pleasing and emphatic middle finger to the ongoing debate about the threat of AI. Only precise human craftsmanship can produce a game of this caliber, and the way it constantly surprises and delights through its tactile controls and strong, empathetic storytelling is a league above anything else this studio's attempted before. It's also quite a bit more demanding than It Takes Two, so before we go any further, consider this a warning to any parents eyeing up the possibility of playing this with their kids. There may be more tantrums than triumphs if your would-be co-op partner doesn't already have some It Takes Two muscle memory under their belt, as Split Fiction builds on that game's snappy platforming moveset while also piling on dozens, and we mean dozens, of new challenges and dexterous button wrangling in the process, though generous checkpoints and a plentiful supply of control and difficulty settings will no doubt take some of the edge off here.
What is going on? I don't know.
Still, assuming you and your co-op partner are up to the task, Split Fiction easily purloins It Takes Two's crown as the best co-op game around. It gets so much mileage out of its central conceit of a fantasy writer and sci-fi novelist getting mixed up in virtual simulations of each other's stories, taking us from Dune-like industrial escapes and rainy cyberpunk highways to shape-shifting forest realms and dragon nests high in the mountains, and plenty more besides as they try and find a way home. They do so by following a trail of purple glitches, zapping them from one story idea to the next, and giving each a deeper glimpse into what makes their newfound partner tick.
That was a close call.
Mio is a cool, no-nonsense lover of sci-fi, for example, and her stories tell of daring escapes, secretive break-ins, and loud and explosive open rebellions against huge, faceless authorities.
That this story is over now.
Zoe, on the other hand, can't resist a happily ever after, taking comfort in the cosy and altogether more hopeful possibilities afforded by the fantasy genre. The two couldn't be more different, and at first they're both very unwilling participants in each other's respective storylines. But as with all good buddy yarns, there's a gradual thawing and understanding that takes place as they get to know each other, and its lean and entertaining script does a great job of bringing you along for the ride.
That sequence would fit in a movie or something.
Oh, well, I'll be there opening night.
You would?
No, too violent, way too violent.
They're much more agreeable hangs than that dreadful singing and dancing book from It Takes Two, even if Zoe's obsession with trying to psychoanalyze Mio's plotlines can be a little on the nose at times.
Well, why be a writer then? There must be easier ways to get paid.
Of course, but everything else pales in comparison. I just love to write. It's how I stay sane.
Unsurprisingly, there are indeed deeper personal traumas driving both young women, but the way these fears and feelings are teased out on screen through your actions is expertly done. This deep connection between its story and your individual objectives is what elevates Split Fiction beyond just being an enjoyable whirlwind of ideas being chucked at you one after another. The sheer variety in what it asks of you here is astonishingly broad, and just as with It Takes Two, Split Fiction's best moments come when Zoe and Mio must use their respective powers in tandem to help them both progress. These powers are unique in every level, whether it's operating a pinball machine with one player as a ball and the other on paddle duty, switching gravity planes to perform stomach-lurching perspective tricks, transforming into a piranha-repelling otter to heave a bamboo reed through a watery gauntlet of man-eating plants, adopting a Diablo-esque isometric perspective to belch acid and charge into enemies as two colourful dragons, or even having one player trying to deactivate a self-destruct sequence on a speeding motorbike by means of a ludicrous homage to Google's capture tests. On their own, these would all be brilliant little snippets of asymmetric magic, but it's the way Hazelight uses them to reveal more about their winning heroines over time that really makes them shine. And don't worry about spoilers, those few examples are just the tip of the iceberg. There is plenty more to discover along the way here.
How can you be so excited by all this? What? We might as well enjoy it while we're here.
Admittedly, given that these fantasy and sci-fi scapes are both meant to be living, breathing representations of story ideas in each writer's head, it is somewhat amusing to see how much they both fall back on certain platforming tropes: wall running across flat surfaces, hopping between long poles, and grapple hooking across great swathes of sci-fi and fantasy real estate. But if anything, these moments of swift and snappy traversal are what's considered downtime in split fiction, something to keep your fingers busy as the game lays down a touch more exposition before the next big puzzle moment, or just giving you an opportunity to catch your breath after a climactic chase sequence.
Love it! It demands skill to mirror the king. But can you do the conga?
The best breathers, however, are split fiction side stories, which you'll find dotted throughout its main levels. These portals take Zoe and Mio to little self-contained locations that are entirely unrelated to the main plotline, but whose unfinished draft status gives Hazelight a brilliant excuse to go truly hog-wild on some ridiculously fun outtakes. One sees Zoe narrating and drawing a story in a notebook, for example, rubbing out weapons and scratching in obstacles on the fly. Another transforms them both into pigs, one of whom can fly through the power of farting rainbows out their bum, while the other can send themselves skyward with a snap of their slinky-esque torso. Our favourite was a fantasy night market, where seeking out ghostly cats to open a series of locked gates had little nods to everything from Baba Yaga to Dark Souls. Others are more throwaway, exhilarating one-and-done feats of desert surfing, wind gliding, or careening through space wreckage to give you a little blast of adrenaline, or indeed shock and appall you with comedic grimness. If you're still recovering from It Takes Two's elephant scene, just wait until you get to the sugary sweet children's party story.
Was that your attempt to make a children's story?
The best thing about the side stories, though, is that they are always the opposite genre of what you're playing in the main story. So if you're in one of Zoe's fantasy stories, for example, all the side stories will be Mio-flavoured sci-fi jaunts, and vice versa. They're entirely optional, and some are quite well hidden, but they always come at just the right moment to give you a blast of something different before you carry on. The main levels are quite lengthy affairs, but the side stories do a brilliant job of keeping the game's pace up and ensuring that no idea outstays its welcome for too long. Without fail, we'd always feel refreshed and ready to carry on with the task at hand once we'd finished these little side diversions, although we'd go as far as saying they're as integral to the main plot as anything else here, as they're not just brilliantly conceived levels in their own right, but the diversity of ideas on show here is still doing the work of telling us more about its two main characters. That's not to say split fiction is all serious business all the time. Just like It Takes Two and A Way Out before it, there are plenty of signature Haze-like moments of pure, unadulterated play to be found here too. Activities that mostly don't have any achievements related to them, or any real point in being there at all beyond just mucking about. Water slides and chilling out in donut rubber rings in a swimming pool, skimming stones across a lake, drinking potions to turn into balls of yarn you can roll around and unravel in real time, or indeed turn into each other to do your best mock impressions of them. They're all completely unnecessary, the kind of excess that normally gets expunged in the modern development landscape. But they all contribute to the feeling that these worlds are alive and fizzing with possibility. They make all these spaces feel more human, more playful, even though they're all just, in theory, simulations of words on a page or half-formed ideas. Heck, while the evil publishing house that's trapped Zoe and Mio here may have the worst of intentions, their technology sure does a great job of making the prospect of these Ready Player One-like realities seem very appealing indeed. If all that wasn't enough, Split Fiction tops it off with an almighty finale, upping the stakes of its ideas and inventiveness even further in ways that truly dazzle and delight at every turn. It sticks the landing in terrific fashion here, making your eyes, fingers, and thumbs thrum with excitement. Everything feels so polished and is executed with such confidence and style that it's impossible not to fall in love with it. As the credits roll and you look back on everything you've done, all the wild places you've been, all the mad moments you've experienced, and all the properly great fun that you've had together, it doesn't take two to realise that, co-op or not, there's really nothing else quite like Split Fiction in games today. Fantastic from start to finish, Split Fiction is one of the most inventive and joyful co-op games to date, and it's a testament to the power of human imagination. Thank you so much for watching this video review. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like, subscribe to Eurogamer for almost daily videos about video games, and why not check out some of our other review videos that are on screen and clickable right now. Goodbye.
Are you for real, Zoe? Like I said, I wrote it when I was a kid. What sort of devil child were you?